with cars. I'm Tyler.
I'm Kyle.
And I'm TJ. This is presented by Troll Patrol Racing. All right, so the big thing to go over.
How the frick did both of you guys get into King
Oh!
not one of yous, but both.
of us.
Both into King of the Mountain.
We're both
6.0.
going. Yep, both going to King of the Mountain 6.0. Me and my humble 1993 C4 Corvette.
For what it's worth, it is a pretty humble C4 Corvette. Yeah.
Absolutely. Well,
Looks like anything your grandpa might drive. Just a little bit lower.
right now. still got the stock wheels on it right now because it's too cold yet. I was really tempted to put them on the good wheels on. The race wheels, the nice wheels, the special wheels.
Yeah, turn your RE71 RSs into bricks.
Yeah.
In the cold.
Well,
So
it's
that
alright.
I got a better chance.
I've already got an account in the budget for new tires.
Well, there you
Regardless of where the wear is.
Hey,
Yeah, I
you
mean,
just-
use up what you got.
And then
Yeah,
first
some
half of the
stickers
season.
on,
Then
Yeah, I'm thinking like June. Place the order, and then
for what it's
I
worth,
want to do at least
you
one
should
event.
probably do just one event.
Yep,
On
I think
those
I'm gonna do
tires
like one
before
event in
you go to
July.
King of the Mountain. Yeah.
And then I'm going to King of the Mountain. And, but yeah, we got into King of the Mountain. Not much to the Corvette. As you guys may or may not know from following the page, it's basically coilovers and headers on the thing.
Open air box.
Yeah, open air box. That's
For
pretty
what that's worth.
standard for
Quite the mod.
C4 guys. Yeah, it's basically cut the air box.
And now,
But-
since last season, tuning.
yes, that's probably the biggest thing, and that'll be coming up here April 13th. I'm actually taking the car out to the dyno to see what
What
fruit,
sort of gains?
Yep, the tuning has.
And it'll be on the same dyno.
Yep,
Same
same dyno.
location.
Yep, same location. I've been.
Yep.
It's easy to be consistent. You guys do a great job with the pricing and everything like that. It just makes sense to run it there. Biggest issue I've had is that I can't go above stock timing for whatever reason. So we tried to remedy that tonight by switching O2 sensors to a known good O2 sensor. I don't know. I guess you probably weren't here for that.
No,
No,
you guys are already wrapped
Yeah,
up.
so the tuner's talking, or he sends out like a list of here's the things you should do. Like make sure your knock sensors are good, check your fuel pressure and everything. Make sure your torque sensors are torqued properly, because if they're over torqued, they'll pick up too much.
Knock sensors.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What did I say?
You said torque sensors.
Torque sensors?
Yeah. Make sure your knock sensors.
It's
are
hammered
torqued
with cars.
properly.
So yeah, the knock
It's
sensors have
cars
to be torqued
while
properly.
being hammered.
Yes. And so the
So you got your knock sensors torqued correctly.
yep, torque
Yep.
correctly, check the fuel pressure. But the fuel pressure was actually a little bit higher than what.
Which is a plus.
Yep. The biggest problem he had is the car was running rich, but it was still pulling timing on top end at wide. They couldn't quite figure out why. One thing could be is just the fuel quality, and I started to question it. Is there like, obviously with diesel they do treatment for the winter, but I was like, do they do any treatment to the fuel in the winter for like 91 that would change it?
No,
Can't.
except significantly less people are running 91 in the winter because all the performance
Could
cars
be
are put
old
away.
fuel
Could just
in
be
the
old
tanks,
fuel.
yeah.
That is a possibility.
That is a really good point.
Yeah.
I'll
Yeah.
have to mention that because that's a really, really good point. I didn't actually think of that.
Like other than Subarus, BMWs,
Yeah,
and
yeah, okay.
Evos, maybe.
So we'll see what comes from it, but the big thing then the next question that came up was the O2 sensors itself, and in this list he sends out basically saying, do not use these specific sensors because they will not work with tuning. You have to use the AC Delco or Delphi kind of standard sensors for the Corvette for them to work at all. So swap those over, just kind of...
To an AC Delco is what you got, right?
No, Delphi's.
Delphi's.
Yep, the AC Delco, they just... I don't think they had the AC Delco on Rock Auto.
I know they carry the brand, but maybe they just don't.
I just don't think they
car.
had it for that.
At that time,
Yeah, but they had the Delphis, and it was $12 a sensor. Like, easy thing to do to just
No
make sure.
brainer.
Yep.
I wish that's all.
So
I
swapped
had
over to that.
sensors.
I'll do log tuning with the newest tune that I got, and that I think will kind of be the last tune without having him either say, "Hey, here's a couple more for free," or me paying $50 or more. Which, now that you mentioned the fuel thing, I might just do. And one of the other things I thought about was, well, let's tune it for this, and then I can throw octane booster in it, or I can throw 93 in it, and it'll still be conservative.
It'll be safe.
No, I'm not going to do E15. But, so yeah, we'll see what that gains. Last time I ran it was 270 wheel horsepower, 274 wheel horsepower. See what gains we get from it, see if we can make the most out of those headers, hopefully.
Hopefully,
See if
more
he
than
can make as much
275.
power.
What?
See if you can make as much power as me.
Yeah, I'm not worried about it. I beat your ass last year with less power, so.
Without brakes.
That's right. There's nothing that'll make you faster than brake
No
caliper
brakes.
coming off.
Yeah.
So yeah, the C4 got in, and the infamous Z31 powered,
Plywood Express.
not powered, but power driven to the ground
Supported.
by my very own Z31. Nothing like my parts spreading across.
The old mismatch Z31 lives on.
Yep.
In more than one way.
Yes.
He's got your differential, right?
Yep.
That's the
So
big
he's got your
the
differential, and I have your transmission.
Yeah.
And someone else out there has the SRT4 seats.
Yeah.
Oh, that's right.
And someone's got the turbo. And
Yeah.
actually, our buddy in Georgia.
Wait, and I got sway bars off.
Yeah, you got sway bars off it, but our buddy in Georgia.
Patty cakes?
No. Cummins.
Oh, Dan?
Yeah,
He's not in Georgia, is he?
Yeah, he is.
Huh.
He's got the Mega Squirt.
Oh.
Or the yeah, I guess it is Mega Squirt. He's got the Mega Squirt for
Yeah.
me and the injectors and everything that I had.
There you go.
So everything from the mismatched Z31 lives on somewhere.
And only one person's fast enough to bring it to King of the Mountain.
That's right.
For now.
So we'll be going out to King of the Mountain. Hopefully we'll be making a couple more videos, kind of building up to that. We'll be following through the season, but obviously I'm going to try and take you guys with us to King of the Mountain as much as we can. Planning on traveling out there as a group, at least the three of us.
Yep.
Maybe a couple more people, but hopefully give a good insight to the inner workings of the weekend and see what it's all about. And
See if
hopefully
any of
bring
us-
back 15 grand.
See if any of us get knocked out and get to play the drinking game live or not.
Right, that is yep.
That's-
I mean,
the
I'll
only
be
thing I
there.
thought
I'll be
about.
there as support only.
Yeah.
So
'Cause I thought
Well,
about it.
hey, I'll tell you right now, if we make the shootout, you are not going to be drunk. You're going to be down there with
Yeah.
us checking tire
gonna have to
pressures.
be playing pit crew.
Yeah, you are going to be pit crew
Nah, for
bitch.
My brother, if he comes along, he might be my crew also.
There you go.
Yep.
So
Now
looking-
race cars first, drinking game second.
Yeah.
Yes,
I
exactly.
was like, oh man, cool. But then if we make the shootout, who's going to play the drinking
Right.
game?
Yep. So if you guys
We
don't,
won't be able to run it.
if you guys don't,
You guys will have to figure it out on your own.
if you don't know the drinking game, the drinking game is quite simple. Every time a cone is hit, you take a drink. Every time there's a new fastest time of the day,
Finish the
you have to
drink.
finish the drink, FTD.
FTD.
Every time someone DNFs, that's down and finish. So you got to finish the drink again. Every time someone mentions, or not someone, the announcer specifically on the live stream mentioned corn dog corner. Hopefully they do that this year. I don't know because you
Yeah.
were just
there's-
talking about. I'm not
yep.
sure. We'll
They
get to that.
picked
But
up on that real quick.
yep,
Yeah,
if they,
to, my
yeah.
to my understanding, there is some new pavement work in the infield, so the track may be different, and corn dog corner may or may not be a thing.
I can't see them getting rid of it.
I feel like they're going to keep that because it's a staple for the live stream getting to talk about
Right.
corn dog corner.
Yep, it's a known corner now of it, you know. So just kind of like the kink at Road America or whatever.
Yeah,
you know,
right.
It's that known corner. So if they mention corn dog corner, you take a drink. Is there anything else?
I think that's about it.
I think we might have come up with some spontaneous rules, like
Yeah.
Things happen and we go,
someone
we're gonna
blew
make
an
you
engine
drink
or something like that.
We're gonna make you drink for this,
Yeah.
Which is an FTD, so
Blew an engine?
yeah.
That's a DNF, not an FTD.
Oh, well, either way. Sorry, yes.
They're very different.
DNF.
I don't know.
FTD, DNF.
Usually
It's-
ends very differently.
It's most of the same letters. Yes, but DNF, still down and finish.
Yeah, that's true. That's true enough.
Yeah.
So that's the rules of the drinking game. If you guys want to watch that when it's happening, just go to the King of the Mountain Facebook page, UMI King of the Mountain Facebook page. Otherwise, search for it on YouTube. That's where they're going to live stream it from. More than likely, that's what they've done the last couple years.
YouTube, Facebook, usually those two. I think the YouTube is just more stable.
Yeah, I think so. I know they did it on Facebook as well last year, but when I went through to look through videos, it wasn't there. So I don't know how that all works as far as categorizing on Facebook. But you'll be able to find the live stream.
It's always on YouTube.
Yeah, it's always on YouTube.
I think it's always
otherwise you can
better.
search UMI King of the Mountain on Google. It'll take you to the website, and that'll take you to a link to the live stream.
Yep.
But be looking out for that because we'll be in it.
Hopefully we'll be in
Hopefully
the
we'll be in the live stream.
Yeah.
We'll be at King of the Mountain. Got to make the top 48 to make it into the live stream, but
Did they not do live stream for the qualifying?
No.
actually,
They do updates, I think, throughout it, but I don't think
that's
they
a good
stream any
question.
of it.
I'm not. They might, but it's during the day, so I don't.
Yeah.
We've never.
I can't remember.
You've
I can't
never
remember.
looked into that.
Yeah, no. Our big.
I don't
the
think
whole
they
King
do.
of the Mountain thing is that top 48. So
I think they only live stream the shootout, and then you can get live timing, and there's updates going on throughout the day.
So look for that because we'll be there, and hopefully we'll be in the top 48.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think your class is a little bit harder to make it.
Yeah, I was looking at it at the registration currently, and there's a lot of early models right now.
Yeah.
So what are the classes? It's early models.
It's
early,
late, mid model, and super late model, right?
yes, because they had
early
good
models,
split. Oh, he's
which
already
is
got it up.
1972 and earlier. Mid models, which is 1973 to 1987.
Thankfully, I just fall into that, which might be good for me.
So there's the caveat. In the rule book, it says they have basically discretion to put you where they want to put you. So if you look at the current registration, there are some 1987 models that are in the late model class.
Sure.
I wonder what the caveats are for.
So let me finish what I was saying.
But I think I can stay because I looked at
more
some of
than
the
likely.
other
More than
qualifying.
likely you will. More than likely you will.
Yeah, the other cars that are in that class that I looked at, it's similar suspension designs as mine,
Right.
so I think I'm good.
So mid models again, 1973 to 1987. Late models, 1988 and later. And then there's the super late models, which is C5 to C8 Corvettes, all-wheel drive, and mid-engine cars.
Basically, anything new or very fancy with advantages, I think, get into the super late class.
Basically, yeah.
Everything else is kind of older, not as high tech from the factory, because everything showing up has usually got some good tech to
Well,
it.
I guess I didn't quite finish it. Super late models is C5, C8, all-wheel drive, mid-engine, etc. Which I think is kind of their caveat of we're gonna put you where we want to put you. So if someone shows
That's
up,
a tube chassis car.
right,
Guess where you're gonna go.
yeah, exactly. If
Yeah.
someone shows up with something wild, they can still say, no, you're gonna be in the super late model, not the late model.
Yep.
But a lot of what I've seen as far as what's currently been registered is early model cars. I'll open that up here quick. So you got all of these right at the beginning. They're all early. Then you got mid,
Might be the biggest class then, just
late,
because
super late, mid,
Because
mid,
all
mid,
the C5,
early,
C6 Corvettes.
late, super late. So it starts to get in the super late and
Yeah, the
late
mid
towards
is
the
still fairly small.
Mid is pretty small, and late is not too bad right now. Early's definitely got a big lead on it. I'd say early and super late are probably the biggest, within probably late and mid. But not everyone's registered at the moment, so obviously there's things that are going to change there. more than likely. But obviously, a lot of great competitors with it being an only invite-only event. So we're excited to see how that shakes out.
Yeah.
5/8 mile autocross course.
Everybody showing up is fast. There's no doubt about that.
Yep.
So look for that.
I'm
Gonna be a
excited.
good time.
We've been following it for a few years, and now we're
Yep.
hopefully in it.
We've been following it for 5 years.
Yeah.
All 5 of them. And you're number 6.
You're
They say third time's a charm, but turns out third time, twice time's a charm.
Just double that and get in there.
But that's the biggest.
So what else? We talked about your upgrades for this season, which is basically just tuning over
yeah.
last year.
Yep.
How about you? What do you got going on for this year?
Well, my plans, simplest things I'm going to do is
Turn
wider
up the
wheels.
boost.
Yeah. Wider wheels, same size tires, same tires, and some revisions to the aero. I'd like to renew the splitter, maybe do a little bit of different stuff with the fender exits for the aero there. So simple aero stuff, maybe get a second element for the wing, a little more downforce.
Yeah.
Nothing too crazy because the engine's reliable. I don't want to touch it.
Right.
It's working.
Don't blame me there.
Say,
But I may add a scramble button because that King of the Mountain, that might be something I want to have.
Right.
On
A
that.
couple of long straights.
Yeah.
Yep.
That extra few pounds of boost
Coming
might
across
be
the
what I
line.
need because
If
they
all you
get
need
high
is-
speeds.
If all you need is 2/10,
Yeah.
that scramble button from the last corner exit to the
Right.
across the line could
Yeah,
be
at
all it
least-
takes.
with how it's been in the past.
Yeah.
I feel like that's been pretty consistent in
Yeah.
the past course setups. We'll see how this year goes.
It's
Yeah,
a
who
good
knows?
mix of tight and wide open
Yep.
speeds.
Yep.
So some
Yeah, I mean, there's been
suspension
an incredible amount of high horsepower cars that have been there and done well, but also there's been plenty of
Low
middle-
power.
mi-
Yeah.
I don't want to say low power, but middle range.
Yeah.
Define
horsepower
low
cars.
and mid.
Yeah, Andy Smedberg
I mean,
has done very
I-
well in S2000s with K swaps.
I would put
Are they turboed?
yes.
He competed in Super K
not
the year
not
he
last
won.
year. Last year was just nitrous, right?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
The year he won, he was driving Super K,
Which is turbo.
Yep.
which is a
Yeah.
turbo car.
But I
To
would
my
say
knowledge, that was
I would
about
call-
400 horsepower.
I was going to
at
say
that
I would
time.
call mid range about 400 horsepower.
Yeah.
Yeah, which puts you on
Low end.
Yeah.
I gotta figure some. Oh.
But it is still possible to win with
It is. It
Yeah.
is.
I don't know if it's. I don't know. Well, yes, it's possible to win if people hit cones.
Yep.
Yes.
It's definitely possible to get into the 48. I would say.
For sure.
Because it's not all about power, it's consistency. Can you drive your car fast and not hit cones?
Yep.
Or do the TJ spin?
Because
you're gonna
I'm
have-
not spinning out in the Corvette.
Yeah. Nice!
So that's
I mean,
Ah.
footage from Blackhawk
Yeah.
Farms would suggest otherwise.
different. That's different. That's completely different. Because I'm the only one willing to push it.
Oh, there's some talk about should you push it to the point of spinning and bringing it back? Is that really driver's skill, or is that just not knowing what you're doing?
You got to find out somehow.
Yep.
You got to learn that limit somehow.
You gotta find the limit by pushing it to the limit, man. I mean,
It's a spicy topic.
yep.
I try to do the latter and work my way up to that
Sure.
limit.
I mean,
Less risk to the
realistically,
car.
an ultra professional driver can know where the limit is without crossing it.
Yes.
Yeah, but do they really know then? That's the real
Well,
question.
The problem
I mean,
is if you go
don't,
off,
you can't know
lose
the
it all.
limit till you hit the limit.
No,
it's
that-
always an
that's
unknown
100%
quantity.
That's 100% true. But
So you gotta
it
have
just
the
comes
balls to take it to the
No,
limit.
no.
I mean,
It
once
just
you
it
start,
comes down to the pressure of the situation. If you're going out to do a qualifying lap, what's going to be faster on a qualifying lap where you get one lap?
Well, we were.
A
I wasn't
90%,
doing a
a
qualifying.
90% lap or a 110% lap where you spin out and have to figure it out.
I completely agree with you, and that's why it makes perfect sense why I decided to spin out. And I dare say I decided to spin out. Because
you weren't on a qualifying lap.
It was an
You were on
HPDE session.
on
Quite
a
literally.
a timed event run.
Right. It was
where
not
you had
timed. It was
multiple
just
laps.
about
Sure.
getting a feel for the
Which
course.
basically means you were out there doing practice.
Yep. And if you're practicing, you might as well be spinning.
As long as you don't hit anything hard.
Well, there's a nice wall around where he likes to spin.
Yep.
there.
And as
We
far
have
as
video of
insurance is
him coming
concerned,
close.
I'm just kidding.
My lawyer told me I had to say that. part.
As far as insurance is concerned, I was on the highway.
Yeah, for legal reasons. That's
You
a
can
joke.
just buy track insurance too, and then you can push it as hard as you
Yes,
want.
there is that.
Have thought
Yeah.
about that.
Yep.
When you drive a car that's, about the same price as a shoebox, I don't really worry about it too much.
At that point, it's more about what components will survive.
Yes, right. What will go on to the spare chassis?
Right.
Yep.
So that's the big plan for the 300 then?
Simple.
Yeah.
It works, and let's make it work a little bit better this year.
Yep. So that covers
Tires.
you and you. Upgrades for me this year? Simply get it on the road.
Get a car that you can compete
I thought you were
in.
about to say upgrades for me this year. I want to be crew chief, bitch.
No. I mean, I had the car on.
Yep.
I had the C4 on the road last year, but again, thanks to the now deceased
Mismatch
Z31. But I have a transmission leak to fix, also courtesy of the Z31.
The transmission leak?
Yeah, where the mechanical speed sensor goes into the tail housing.
Oh, yeah.
That is the only seal on the entire transmission that I paid no attention to. Turns out that's
And
the
that
one
is,
leaks.
that is
the one.
specifically the part of the transmission that you used.
Yeah,
from mine.
yeah, I used the tail housing,
Yeah, it
not
was
the
leaking.
transmission.
I could have.
Yeah, well, you
Sorry,
should
I should have told you.
But no.
To be
I
fair,
mean,
there was a
to be
couple
fair,
things leaking.
And
And
he
it
didn't
wasn't,
know.
I wasn't sure, is it leaking from this or is that just oil splatter from something else
right.
leaking?
For
Just
what it's worth,
oil on the back
I
of the
literally
trans.
touched every other sealing point on the entire transmission. I just didn't pull that mechanical speedometer drive out of the transmission and it replaced the O-ring. And that's where it's leaking. And it leaks like a sieve.
Okay, it didn't leak like a sieve for me.
No, it leaks a lot.
Okay.
The only reason that I know that it leaks a lot is because it drains down on top of the exhaust. So every time
smell
I
it?
start it, it smokes a lot
Gotcha.
and smells really bad.
Well, good news is,
Because gear oil
the day it
doesn't
doesn't
smell bad on its
smoke,
own.
you know you're out of gear oil.
Correct, because it's pretty high up in the transmission, so if it stops smoking, if it stops leaking, then I know I'm getting pretty low. But no, so I gotta fix that, and I gotta just finish up the patch panel on the tunnel where I cut out for the new shifter location, since it's a top loader instead of like a remote box. Yeah. That's all I have to do to get it back on the road. Outside of that, things that I would like to do before the rest of the season actually starts for me. I have all of the C5 brake upgrades for the front.
Yep.
And I already know that one way or another, all of my brake pads, at least, and rotors need to be replaced because last couple of times we autocrossed it.
You can smell the brakes.
It smells like it's going to light on fire. Just on the autocross.
It smells of asbestos.
Yeah. No, it smells real bad. So it's going to get the brake upgrade. I've already got the tires mounted on the C5, all four rear wheels.
Yep, so 9.5 inch.
Yep.
18 by
9.5. Yep. 265-inch wide tires.
But the old Bridgestones.
Old Bridgestones. But hey, you know what? Next best thing I've ever run was the Federal.
Yep. No, I was gonna say it'll still be a good tire. It
should
for
be
getting them
enough,
on closeout, even though
it will be
couple
very
years
good
old.
for what I have.
They're bad.
Although I will-
properly.
I will say the only thing, not to get too off topic, the only thing that might have been a little bit better by waiting is the Kumo's new tire, the V730.
they need a lot of heat is the issue.
They have dropped in price
Oh,
dramatically.
Yeah.
Ryan's considering running them because they are almost half the cost.
Have they dropped down to like $480 a set?
No,
Because that's what I paid.
they're like $860
Yeah.
for a 265
Yeah.
set.
I know
So-
that's what my buddy Jake bought for his Z is a 265 V730, and it's like
Yeah.
that is going to be a good tire for him because he's still relatively new,
Yeah.
and you want a durable tire that's a little bit more forgiving, I
Yeah.
suppose. I think they're a little bit more forgiving as far as when it's going to kick out than, say, the RE71 RS,
Sure.
which I find to still be super
I was gonna
predictable. It's
Yeah.
a great tire, but when you're new, a little bit less grip is always better.
I don't know. Someone was to ask me, and they didn't have a budget, I'd be like, get the RS.
Yeah.
Just
The only
the
known
RE71 RS,
Yeah.
not the RS4.
Yeah.
The RS4 is a trash tire, and I hate it. All right. Anyways, back to what you were saying.
Yeah.
Since
So-
we went on that.
That's the only things that my Corvette needs to be able to make an event. Other things that I would like to do for the season, replace all the suspension bushings. You know, they appear by looking at them to be original to the car, so they're all super weather checked. So
Yeah.
good poly suspension bushing kit would be a huge upgrade for that car. And if funds provide, rather than spending all the money and going straight to a coilover setup, because my car is a Z51 package, it's already got the stiff springs in it. I would like to just put a lowering kit on it and some adjustable shocks. And I think
Adjustable shocks?
potentially, yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Well,
I
know we kind of talked about it earlier, and
it's
like,
either-
after thinking about it,
it's
'cause
either-
I think the rears are the same across all years.
Yeah. Well,
Oh no, my rears aren't Bilsteins.
I
My
either
rears
just
were like AC Delco replacements.
that's
My
the
fronts
two,
are Bilsteins.
that's the
which
two-
you can't use.
two options. I either just get a bolt-on adjustable shock that is of high quality and I actually trust the valving in it, or I just buy a set of used Bilsteins and I take them up to Ryan's
And
Yeah.
tune them
tune them.
for
Yeah.
the car.
Yep. So we'll
Yeah,
see
and you easily could because you have the scales here and everything.
for sure.
It'd be really easy for you to do that.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah, I need to find a set of coilovers I can tune.
Right.
The only thing that might be an issue is you have no idea what your spring rate is.
Doesn't
No.
Ryan have things to figure that out?
I can
Not a
get
composite leaf spring that's
Oh.
yeah.
Cool.
I
Yeah,
can get
yeah,
an
you
can't-
idea
you
of
can
what
get an
the
idea,
spring
but
rate
you
is
can't actually trust it because it's
because it's
30 years old
Yeah.
now
yeah.
that you really
It's a lot more than 30 years old.
Oh yeah.
86 to now, it's
Okay, so it's almost 40 years old.
yeah.
Okay. Shit.
I'm not old. I am. I recognize it by the day.
Yeah.
Me and my dad were talking about drag racing a
Yeah.
couple days ago here, and he's like, "Yeah, we went down to Byron with you and your buddies." I was like, "Yeah, that was 20 years ago." 20 when I can start saying that I went to an event with my dad and my buddies in high school 20 years ago, I'm getting old.
Never remind me of that again.
Well, honestly, the last time we went to Byron.
Which I wasn't there. I didn't go to Byron with you guys.
Oh no, you're right. It was just was it me, Dan, and Adam and Frankie, I think,
Yeah.
basically, and Ryan.
Yeah.
That was a long time ago too. I was thinking of Great Lakes originally. Is what I was thinking.
Yeah.
Of. So when we went to the Great Lakes Dragway. That was
Probably 10 years ago.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. It would be close to that.
Yeah.
I mean, fuck, we're old.
All
All right.
When did you start?
So yeah,
Let's
that's
get out of that
that's about
depressing subject and,
that's about all I have kind of planned for the
the C4.
C4 this year. Yep.
Yeah, when did you guys start racing?
2013.
2013?
2013.
Yeah, because I know most
sorry,
of you
I should
guys
say
kind of got
we
into
didn't
it
start
together.
racing, but 2013 was the first year we went to autocrosses as like a group.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ryan was really the only one
So he kind of got
consistently
you
racing.
guys
So
into
this-
it.
And I don't know if I told you this. So the first event we went to, I just searched. I think I heard about autocross through.
This is before
like-
Motorsport Reg, so it's a
Yeah,
little
oh, yeah,
harder
yeah.
to find events.
I had
yeah.
read about autocross in Modified magazine before that went out, and then it only became Super Street.
An actual paper magazine.
Yes, and I still have most.
How old are you?
I still have most of them.
You had subscriptions to paper magazines?
I had yes, yeah, exactly.
I think Harbor Freight's the only one I got.
I had subscriptions to Modified and Super Street, and I remember reading about autocross in one of them or something like that. So I looked up autocross in Wisconsin and came across Madison Sports Car Club. And I was 18. I had no money, but I wanted to do something for Dan's birthday. So I was like, hey, let's go do this autocross. I talked around. I was like, hey, do you want to go do this? Like, let's go see what this is about. So I was like, yep, let's do it. And we were going to take his car, and I was going to take my
Your black
flat black 300ZX.
I was about to
out.
say, is he going to say the Beetle that he had?
No, the black
No. And then we were like reading, we didn't know like how strict the tech inspection would be and stuff, and no leaking fluids or anything.
Mhm.
And I had a brake caliper that was just leaking a little bit of fluid.
Not dripping on the ground,
Yeah.
but you could see
And
it's moist.
Yeah, and I can't remember what we put some RTV like somewhere to like seal it up and let it sit overnight. And then in the morning we were like, all right, we'll just try it in the morning before we go.
RTV on a brake system.
Yeah.
He's 18, so
How much have
This-
you learned since
well-
then?
Well, yeah, exactly. And this might be
nothing. His brakes
This-
still fall apart.
Literally happened last
Literally,
year.
the calipers come off the car. But it literally might have been one of those things like, yeah, like fate, like, no, don't do this. Climb in the car that morning, and I give the brake a good, because the car sat high enough that Ryan could just like sit underneath it and look. And I give it like a good couple pumps, and I go for that like third pump, and the pedal just goes straight to the floor. I had bursted the brake line. That's how rusted the brake line was. And it was like,
It's a good thing you tested it before.
Yeah. So we didn't take my car. We just all went up in Ryan's car. We get up there.
Same SRT4 is now.
Yep. Same SRT4 is now. We get up
He
there.
really has had that thing a long time.
And
he bought
was,
that when we were sophomores in high school.
Yeah.
Wow.
So it's been
28 or 2008.
yeah.
Oh, yeah.
2008. He's owned that basically.
uh
Because you guys would have graduated. Oh no, you guys would have 2007.
2007. I think
Yeah.
we got that. Yeah.
Because you guys would have graduated in 2009,
So, yeah.
right? Yeah. So
It's been
he's almost had it 2 decades. now.
Yeah.
He's
He's almost had it
coming up
20
on 2
years.
decades.
Yeah.
Yep. And
Rick.
yeah, that'll make you feel old. So we get there to like sign up, and he's like, "Oh, I'm here to sign up for the autocross," and I was sitting in the passenger seat, and they go, "Oh, are you co-driving?"
What is this?
And I was like, no." Because I just didn't.
Wrong answer.
Right, yeah, but I was like, I had no
You don't know how
idea,
it
or
works.
yeah, or
you don't
anything.
even know
like
you
I
can
was
do that.
just
yeah.
wasn't my car, wasn't gonna do it, and then like we did that event, and then we started doing every event after that, basically.
Yeah.
Because they did an event at Sugar Raceway that year.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, we used to race on Sugar River.
Oh,
it was
Sugar River.
so
I
good.
always thought how much fun it would
I
be
think
there.
For
to
the
do
people
it.
that don't know, that's a go-kart
Go-kart
track. Yep.
No.
That
So,
banking has to be
broadhead.
fun on the back
Yeah.
of the straightaways.
So
Did
there's
we do
There's
2
actually
or
some old
3
videos
years
I
there?
can show of that. What?
Did we do 2 or 3 years
One.
there?
We did 1 year there. We only got. There might have been
I think
a
we did at
second
least
time
2.
that I didn't go
Because
to.
the first time we went there, Frankie wasn't there. I don't think. Was he?
Yes, he was. That was
Was it
the.
a-
I think that was the first and only time that we
Oh,
went.
may have only been once.
I think it was only once.
That ever
But Frankie was
opened
there, and I can show people the video of
Yeah.
the Nova going around because I know I've got it on.
But yeah, Sugar River was
That
excellent.
is-
Yeah.
It's a fun kart track, so it would
Yeah.
have to be fun in a
For what
car.
it's worth. It's got new ownership now. Maybe we should revisit that.
It's already been discussed.
Good.
So,
Keep
so
my
bas-
ears open.
to your original question, we've been doing it since 2013, and then it was basically Ryan and like Frankie did it with the Nova and stuff,
Yep.
and then 2014 is when
The rest
of us kind of started
joined
joining in.
Yeah.
And I didn't really start joining in with man, I'd have to go back and look at that. I don't think it was 20. Oh no, it might have. Yeah, 2014. I think I did have the 300 there because I got the new chassis. We basically swapped the engine in, and the first event I took it up to was up at Road America.
Yeah.
And the whole thing I was getting crap for.
How much squat it had.
Well, no, I wrote because I hadn't driven it at all, other than for that event, and it was, is the car going to make it home?
Yeah.
Because we had no trailers or nothing at that point, you know. And it was TJ's car's going to break. TJ's car's going to break. So we just not slapped together, but I remember we came home from college, and one of the things they had is you have your meal points, and you kind of like use them or lose them towards the end of the year. And I bought 3 36 cases, like 36 packs of NOS energy drinks. And we just like went through them throughout the week.
Yeah.
To get the engine swapped in.
Jeez.
Isn't that the same year that everybody thought your car was going to break? It didn't.
That's what I'm saying. And then Ryan's
car,
which
blew
been
an
the most
axle.
a lot. Yeah, he blew an axle.
He's gotten good at changing those too.
Yes, he has. Yeah.
He carries spares for both sides
Yeah.
everywhere he goes.
Yeah. He hasn't had the issue.
Never. I don't think it's
Well,
broken axle.
I don't think it was really the axle that was the issue. I think it was his bearing. His wheel bearings he's had more issues with. And they...
No, I'm pretty sure at that event he blew an inside joint.
Yes, it was the axle.
Nothing to do with the wheel bearing.
Okay. I just think he hasn't had any issues since then, and he's run way grippier tires since
Correct.
then.
Yeah.
Because that was like A6s, which
Yeah.
are you might as well be on an RS4 at that point. So like, he hasn't had an issue since then. I don't. Maybe it was part of geometry with the suspension. He's fixed that with his custom
I
control
think that
arms
was
and stuff like
probably
that.
Yeah,
a
it
large
could be.
component.
Okay.
Because the car at that time was just lowered on those Takiko springs and or no, it was Takiko struts.
Takiko.
Sure. Takiko. Takiko, whatever.
Tattoo, what's the difference?
Potato.
Potato padillo.
Potato padildo.
Oh, lovely.
But back to it.
Yeah, that one. Anyways, it was lowered.
Yeah.
So the
That could have been it.
Depending how much.
Because then he
lower
went
it
to the
is.
coilovers, and he didn't have.
he didn't have issues at that point, but he also had new axles.
Yeah.
But then it wasn't that long after that. He went to the custom control arms and the extended ball joints.
Well,
which
in
helps
between that, he
fix.
stopped driving the SRT4 for autocrosses. Started driving the 3 Series.
For a year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I guess it was.
And that was like the R&D point. That was the major R&D point for the SRT.
Okay.
Yeah.
And
And when he
went back that way, but
I think it does.
man,
I wasn't racing yet.
I guess
it
so
does.
how old are we?
Yeah.
How old
it's good.
how old are Ryan's custom control arms?
Oh.
They're older than
Well,
I've been autocrossing.
Yeah, I think
Well,
so.
no, the ones that he got in his car aren't that old.
Yeah,
Because he built he put
built
it
it
together
again.
with his
He
TIG welder
just-
after
yeah,
he got his
Yeah,
TIG
he
welder.
built
which
new
is-
ones that are
That's recent. I
much
know.
better.
Yeah. But I mean, so like as far as his CV joint failure point, after he got those custom control arms built with the extended length ball joints, it helps fix the
roll center is going to be better. Your
Yeah.
geometry
well, it
is
helps
better.
fix the geometry a little bit
Because
better.
now your
so
control arm is going to sit down
Yep.
more into the factory
Yeah.
positioning.
you don't have to have the
It
car.
just does everything.
You don't have to
better
have the
for it.
car as low
Right.
to be able to get the appropriate geometry, things like that.
Right.
Yeah. Which, if he was here, he'd probably tell us we're all dumb.
Yeah, I don't know the
Yeah.
car is low thing for what
Yeah.
that is. But basically, when you're doing an extended ball joint, bringing the control arm down is now the suspension is back into the geometry it was designed to
Yep.
work in. So you can run the car lower, and the suspension will work correctly with the correct
If I'm not
geometry.
mistaken, too, it's also lengthened.
Yes. Yeah. To help with camber.
Yeah.
Yeah. But anyways, so 2013 is kind of when we started, and it was 2014 when more of us
Everybody
as
got
a
in.
group started to do it. And then like 2015 was the first year I know I got a class trophy, like class winning trophy or whatever. So that was the first year that I like started doing events consistently.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you have a 5-year head start on me because I started in 2018.
Yep.
And I have trophies to prove that in 2018.
And again, that's me.
Yep.
Just saying.
I mean, yeah, for me, autocross, like, I only kind of knew what autocross was from watching roadkill videos, but because they're going to, like, the Good Guys events and these big things, I didn't know that it was, like, a thing that I could go and do. Locally. I was like, oh, yeah, those are cool. They got all these expensive hot rods.
Like, oh, yeah, you have to be a professional race car driver.
Right. Yeah. I don't think I knew about the SCCA. I didn't know about any of the local clubs, that's for sure.
Yeah.
And I went and pulled my current car out of the backyard of some guy up in like Walsall and posted it up on Facebook. And TJ over here was like, oh, hey, you should sign up for this driver school autocross thing we have in a couple of weeks. I have the same car. It'd be cool to see another one out. So I signed up for that immediately. I think I put...
There was still NA at that point.
Yeah, that was the one naturally aspirated event it ever ran. I think... What did I do? I put in... Did I do my shocks? I don't think I was able to get shocks done. I think I just put in the lowering springs that were in the trunk of the car when I bought it. Didn't replace the shocks. I had a mismatched set of wheels because I was like, well, the car's rear-wheel drive, so I need to put these wider ones that we have on the back because it's going to need more grip. Mismatched wheels, mismatched tires, going to my first event thinking I'm going to be going so fast that the car might potentially lose rear grip and spin. And it was nowhere near that. Because when you've never been out to race before and you've just driven around back roads, like you think you know what you're doing, you think you can drive well, and then you go out and learn you know nothing.
Turns out you don't know anything.
Yeah. No, because I drove all day long like, yeah, that's pretty good. And then TJ got in my car and I was like, oh,
that's what
this car can do a lot more. And then my fun runs, I got way faster immediately after just having somebody else drive it and go, your car can do this, and you didn't even know it.
That's actually the biggest thing I noticed. So there's actually the autocross school coming up with Madison Sports Car Club on the 21st. And that's one thing I've noticed from doing the autocross school, because it wasn't just your car. There was a I obviously had the Ford Focus ST that I daily drove for a while, and I brought that out to, I don't know if it was that school or the school after that.
It wasn't the one I came to, because you had your Z there, but it broke when you showed up, I think, so you didn't run it.
Yeah, it wasn't running great. It didn't break. I still drove it home, but it wasn't running great.
Sounds pretty typical.
Yeah.
There's a reason he has a Corvette now.
Yeah. And so I brought my Focus out, and two of the people in our school had Focus STs. One was a pretty stock one was like, I don't know if they just turned up the booster, they had a different turbo on it or whatever. And went through the day doing the school and stuff like that. And then I was like, okay, now we're going to do like a mock autocross day where you guys can run. Instructors will run if you want to jump in their cars and stuff like that. And actually what happened is both of them came over to me to ask if they could ride in my car. And the one guy, he had summer tires, like he had Bridgestone RE71Rs on his car, ready to go. The other person, they had some all-season, maybe more summer-based tire. I can't remember what it was exactly. And then there was me with my winter tires still on the car. And they're like, oh, can we ride with you? And I went out and I put down like 3-second faster laps in my car with the snow tires. And both of them were like, I didn't realize I could brake that late. Yeah. Like, I just didn't know my car had that potential. And that was like the big thing I noticed is it's building up that confidence in the car that you don't get from the like street driving and everything.
So when you first start out, you don't know what the limit of adhesion is feels like. You
Right.
think you're there, but in reality, you think it's here, but it's way up here. And
right. And you're never that like on a street route. You're never comfortable putting it to that point.
Which you shouldn't
right.
do
Yeah.
anyways.
No, you shouldn't. But you're never that comfortable because it's just trees.
Yeah.
You don't know what the surface is like, but you obviously build up that intuition, I guess you'd say, as you start racing on those courses. And knowing the track obviously helps and everything like that. But it's always funny to me. You get someone to ride with you and they're like, oh, I need to brake way later. Like that's the first thing you hear from people. I feel like is I can brake way later and I can turn in a little bit harder than I thought. But I think braking is probably the biggest one I hear from most people. It's like, okay, I can really send it into the corner.
Yeah.
Hopefully they don't send it too hard and
end up in a wall.
Yeah, exactly.
So I think
because we happen to run a lot of circle tracks and there's a lot of walls.
I think having an experienced driver drive your car when you're new is probably one of the best things you can do. Just now you get to feel and see physically in your car what it is capable of. So now you can trust it and be a little more confident in your car and drive just a little bit better.
I would just say even riding with someone. It doesn't even have to be in your car.
Yeah.
I think it helps if it's in your car because you're seeing
the
limits
exactly
pushed a little bit more.
Yeah.
But you can understand a little bit okay, especially with autocross where a lot of those experienced people, they're not coming out with necessarily the biggest, baddest car.
Right.
It's still a pretty, basic car. It's
on a 60-second course, if you're 15 seconds off of the leader, riding in any car
is going to be
can help you know that you can brake later.
Right.
It doesn't matter if you're driving a Fiesta and they're driving a McLaren. If you can understand that,
I think a Fiesta would be faster.
It might be. It might be,
depending on the course.
If it was a Fiesta ST.
But
I think I'd put my money on the Fiesta ST.
My statement stands. But my statement stands that if you recognize that you can just brake 100 feet more in that direction,
right? Yep.
That's a huge difference.
I know I wasn't standing on the brakes.
Yeah.
To begin with, I thought I was braking hard, but you can really stand on the brakes.
Yeah.
You want to get it. To where
if your benchmark is how much brake do I have to use to be able to slow down quickly coming up to a stoplight behind traffic?
Yeah.
If that's your benchmark of that's 100% of my brakes.
Right.
But then you hop into literally any other car and you recognize that you can slam the brake pedal 90% of the way to the floor until your ABS comes on. That's a whole different world.
Right. Well, and I think that was it was kind of a unique situation where these two people had come out with the same car I had.
Same kind
of car.
But you have less tires.
Yeah.
Well, less tires, but more importantly, it was a stock car.
Right.
So it was literally, it is just a driver thing.
Yep.
And that was, I think, the big point for them.
They realized these cars are very capable.
Right.
We can definitely drive them much better. So that's just now you know what it's capable of, and you kind of have a goal because now your goal is I need to make my car feel more like what I just felt.
Right.
And I need to be the one capable of controlling it to do that thing.
Right.
So you're going out there, now you have a little more intent of, did it feel like that lap did? And, if it didn't, you could brake a little bit later. It didn't feel that. It could be that.
Right.
It just gives you something, I think, to look forward to, especially as a new driver, to know that the car is not holding you back. You're holding yourself back.
Yes, please.
Sure. Yeah, because I think if you believe the car is the limiting factor, that's going to make it harder as a driver to get better because anytime it doesn't quite go the way that you want, you might be blaming the car.
Right.
It's like all you're doing is shooting yourself in the foot. You think the car is the issue,
Right.
but in reality, you are more likely the issue than the car, because there's always more to it. You can always go faster as a driver and outdrive the car, but it's
Right.
hard to get to that point.
Well, I know one of the things that I had kind of thought of after I got the Corvette is I thought the 300 might have been a limiting factor. And it may have been, because it doesn't quite have the suspension you've got.
Yeah. Or the reliability. I think
Yes.
that was your main limiting factor, is just not being able to have a reliable season with it. So you couldn't always run the events you showed up to.
So the other thing is, I kind of threw caution to the wind. I didn't, like, if I was there to run, I was there to run. But I will say that the thing that I noticed from years before to this past year, easily the biggest thing holding, like, me back from developing more as a driver and stuff, I think was the tires. There was a huge gap, and a huge gap I didn't realize between the, like, I knew there was a gap between the Federal 595 RSRRs and
say the Bridgestones of the time.
Yeah, which is the Bridgestone RS. But I didn't think it was that big. And then after that first event, it was like, oh my gosh,
the difference is
there was so much time left on the table with just those tires. Because it quickly became, because I almost bought the RRs again, and then they're no longer DOT approved and all that stuff. So
same with the pros, because I ran those for the one season that they were still DOT approved.
One season they came out and they were DOT approved.
Which were surprisingly competitive.
Too. Yeah, no, they were
I kind of wish they would stay DOT approved, just because it's a great budget tire for people that are new into the sport, to have a good tire that's capable of being competitive, and it's very forgiving and easy to predict and durable. You know, I ran an entire season on them, and they're still sitting in my garage because I can use them for just burning away on a lapping day.
Right. And but I just know after that first event, it was just like, oh, I'm not going to be able to go back. Because I know I'm leaving the last whatever.
There's a lot of time.
Like second or a couple tenths or whatever it was, but a couple tenths obviously in autocross is a lot. Like I know I'm leaving time out on the table by not having these tires. I gotta have these tires now.
It is now every year we're stuck in it. You know, the only thing else that would have more grip is if we started to bring slicks. But slicks have kind of paced themselves out in autocross because the 200 treadwear tires are so good.
Yeah.
And for the classes, it's kind of, you know.
I still think A7s probably grip better, but I wouldn't be surprised if an A8 comes out here in the next year or two.
Yeah, I don't know what they plan on doing.
Like
they're going to have to do something. Unless they are more restricted by actual, like, if the actual regulations are more restrictive on slicks in whatever classes they are typically running in compared to 200 treadwear. Because the whole 200 treadwear thing is pretty loose and fast within manufacturer.
I think the biggest thing for slicks is that it just has to be DOT approved.
I think,
for like SCCA stuff. For autocross stuff you're talking about, it has to be a DOT approved slick.
Sure.
I think that's really the only thing.
But recognize that an A7 or an R7 is used in a lot more different types of events than just autocross.
Yeah.
Okay. Fair enough.
You know, we use
and other sanctioning bodies.
That doesn't mean they won't come out. That doesn't mean they won't come out with a slick specific.
They may. But that's
going
to be a completely different thing than what it is right now.
I feel like that'd be part of the divider between an A7 and an R7, because an A7 is almost exclusively used for autocross, or maybe
it's a really
time trial kind of thing.
Yeah. So it's going to be used, like, I think it was mostly starting out being used as here's your qualifying tire, because it comes on fast.
Oh, okay.
And you can do your 1-2 laps. It'll be really fast, and you'll get a great qualifying time. Then you would switch over to a race tire that's a little more durable. And we weren't around to know, but I'm guessing autocross guys might have saw that A7 and go, "Hey, I bet that would be great in this situation because it's going to offer a lot of grip quickly."
Have any of us?
Versus tires.
The A7 is, I mean, like, Hoosiers have been used.
Have any of us done the research to find out whether or not A7 R7 is actually intended to be an autocross or even road course tire?
Nope.
Or is it a circle track tire that people are just like, well, that works?
I don't think it's a circle track tire. I don't know.
But you don't know.
But since we're talking about tires,
What everyone wanted to
and I
come
want to bring
for.
this full circle with King of the Mountain.
All right.
Vitour.
Vitour P1s have not been allowed at King of the Mountain.
Okay, well.
Specifically
is it
stated
for
in the
legitimate
rules.
reasons, or it's just like too much heat, we're not doing it?
I don't know. I'm not UMI.
Yeah.
To be honest, I feel like they're probably looking at SCCA rules and going, okay.
Yeah.
And that's
We're
fair.
There's a lot of
Because
speculation on
SCCA
legality.
rules are based on an actual thing.
Yeah.
It's a lack of availability. Correct?
I think that's one of the big issues. Because there's
No.
only like one supplier in the US.
As far as I understand with SCCA, basically it was they needed this information by this date. They didn't have the clear information
Sure.
by that date. So the tire was not allowed.
So
and it was things like
it's
I don't know-
either
I don't
it's
know
either
if-
too late or a lack of availability.
I don't know what SCCA was specifically asking for, but whatever they were asking for did not meet the deadline for SCCA to release the rule book. So SCCA had to ban it because
Right.
they have to stick to their
Yeah.
timeline.
Yeah.
That's the way I understand it.
But
I don't know
isn't-
for what reasons why. There's
Sure.
kind of been all sorts of speculation of tread depth, availability, it not actually being a 200 tread rev tire.
But those
It's-
are like the 2 or 3 things that are in the rule book for SCCA. It has to be released by a certain date. It has to be a certain amount of tread depth,
Yep.
and
It has to be available.
it has to be available.
Yes,
And
those
then
are yes.
it has
Those
to
are
be
those are-
But I don't
those
know
are-
if there's a specific because it might not be any one of those things. It might have just been the timeline. If they didn't get the
Yeah.
information about the timeline, it might not be any of those things. It might just be the timeline.
It might be
Well,
tire
that is one of the
sizes
things
might have
that
been
I
a part
said.
of that. Because they have to have certain
But my
tire
point is-
sizes.
So
like
I
the
guess-
information has to be released by a certain point. That is
Yes,
the timeline.
yes, that is the
Yeah.
only thing. It's
So
other
it's-
things have been talked about, but I don't know if they're actually related to why the P1 is
It's a speculative,
not
very
even. I
hot
won't even say
topic
banned.
tire.
It's
That's
not
what it is right now.
Yeah, it's not banned. It's excluded from this year.
yeah.
Is the way I look
Yeah,
at it.
you can run it in
So
other
next year it
clubs.
might be fine
Yeah, it might
Possibly.
be fine. Yeah, as long as
for those events that have those specific rules.
yeah, I
Like
mean,
like he was
there's-
saying this year, for like if you go to Madison Sports Surf Club,
you could run a Vitour P1.
You could
We're not going to be that
Yeah.
strict.
No.
Yeah.
No one's gonna care.
yeah,
It's not gonna make
for
a
most of your
difference.
local clubs, it's gonna
Or
be
even SCCA regional clubs are running it.
yeah,
As 200 tread tires.
which is
Some of them can possibly choose, but if
yes,
you go to
it's kind of up to the discretion of the
going
regional
to
club.
national events,
yeah, a regional
Which makes-
SCCA is like a bridge between a
Yeah.
local club and
It is a local
and-
club.
Yeah, correct.
It's not a bridge. It is a local
Okay,
club.
and
So
it is
they're
a
letting the
local
local clubs do what they want to do, which is the right move, saying,
Yep.
yeah.
it's up to you guys, whatever you want to do. But on the national side, we don't have enough information, so it's banned.
We stick to the rule
It's
book.
excluded
Yeah.
this year.
Be aware that if you win your regional championship, you might not be able to run your tire at nationals.
Yeah, I mean that's fair to say.
Yep. No, it is fair.
But the RA71 RS is a great tire, so you probably
And
want
there's
to run
there's
that
also
anyway.
a whole myriad of other great tires that if your car is set up better,
AO52s
yep,
are
the
also
AO52s.
if you can set up to
Run the Bridgestones. Just
or don't.
run
or
the
don't.
tire that you're fast on,
Yeah.
as long as it's allowed where you're running it.
Yep.
no.
Nankang
Fast on the
CR1s,
Bridgestone.
they're also fast.
What?
Nankang CR1s.
Yeah, but they're only fast in the right conditions.
Yep.
The Bridgestones are fast in every condition.
Allegedly.
I'm I'm allegedly proven.
After my break, I have a good example of that.
Allegedly.
So the Vitour P1 out of King of the Mountain, that was actually one of the things I was kind of waiting for to see.
Sure.
I
Because you were thinking about getting them.
was very tempted
Yeah.
to just try it. There was a couple things that I saw about the fall off on them that I wasn't sure about, and I'm weary because
Was it like multi-lap fall off?
yeah,
So it may have
Very.
been a problem on HPD
yes,
or high speed
but
autocross,
like very quick,
which
fall
means
off.
they may be minty
right,
for
right,
autocross.
right. That's, but the thing it was kind of, you got to get kind of like with AO52s and all that stuff. It's got to be that right temperature, and then everything kind of comes together. And then we're gonna go do this night event at King of the Mountain.
Right.
And
gonna cool
Bridgestones
off.
have more grip with a little bit of cool in them than any other tire.
They have a
They are
temperature
They
range
have
that
a
you wanna
grip
get.
range across temperature better than anyone else, I'd say, from what we've seen and
Other
experienced.
than maybe those Vitours.
What?
Mhm. Well, we don't have enough testing to
No,
know
what do you mean?
much about them.
I mean, the Vitours, if they have massive fall off after just a couple of 2, 3, 4 laps.
Which I think from what I've seen, that is the case, is they have a massive fall
Correct.
off.
So if they have a massive fall off on a big track, that means that they might heat up really fast in cold weather
My point.
on an autocross track.
My point is the Bridgestone's consistency over a wide range of temperatures
Sure.
is better than any other tire. That is what.
Except maybe the Vitours.
No,
Maybe.
no, I'm saying at 50 degrees.
He's just playing devil's advocate
Right.
right now.
Yeah.
So
No,
I mean, we
if
don't
anything, the Vitour is more like the AO52s and stuff, where it has to be at that
a very
really,
narrow,
really good temperature. So if it's too cold, you never can get the grip that you really need. Where the Bridgestone, even though it's cold, it doesn't have the peak grip of what it could have, but it has more grip
Sure.
by a good margin on
Bridgestones
some of
are-
those other tires.
They're
That's-
very good cold.
yes,
like-
they're
When
if
I-
it rains, Bridgestones.
Unless you can get a really good dedicated rain tire. Like if it's a heavy rain, you might be better off with a dedicated
Yep.
rain tire.
Like
but in like
Bridgestones.
lighter rain, just a drizzle.
What else would you run?
I don't have the research, but there's probably better tires for heavy rain. I'm sure.
I mean, he's right.
If
but
the
he
track
doesn't-
is
I mean, he
puddling-
doesn't back it up.
I kind
Well,
of.
something
I don't
like-
think they're really like.
there might be a Continental that makes. They might have a really good heavy
See-
wet weather tire.
Yeah.
versus
I don't think
the
it would
200
because
treadwear
the
might
rain
not.
doesn't change much.
Ah,
It changes everything equally across the board. Your coefficient of friction drops. But your coefficient of friction at that lower temperature,
Temperature, yes.
the rate stays the same.
Temperature-
so if your Bridgestones,
Temperature, yes. No, I 100% agree
if it's
with that.
if it's like
But what
yes,
he's
if it's
talking
like a
about
puddle,
yeah.
If
then
it's
yes,
like
maybe there's
legit
something better.
full-on rain, and you have to run in the actual rain,
I'd
not
still-
not a wet track,
Still pick
a
my Bridgestones.
full-on rain. Nah,
Yep.
gotta have a rain
Everything's
tire.
gonna
Yeah.
suck at that point.
If it
I'm-
is like full-on downpour,
no, your
I'm thinking
Bridgestones.
of getting a rain tire for my extra wheels
the
just
only
for.
thing, the only
rain
caveat
event.
is 90% of the time that you have that kind of rain that you actually need an actual rain tire, there's also lightning, which means that the event gets postponed.
We've ran in some pretty heavy rain at MIS before.
And you know what's worked well there?
Bridgestones. But that's
I
not
didn't have any.
but that's only because there was nothing else there to compare to. No
Yeah.
one came prepared with an actual
Because
rain tire.
think about it. How many people have ever brought a rain tire just in case of
200?
rain?
200 treadwear
Two-
tires. 200
two in
treadwear tires.
autocross.
Yeah, 2 and 0.
200
Never.
treadwear tires are used as rain tires
Mm,
for road course stuff.
I don't know about that.
Not to my awareness.
They
Rain
are.
tires are used as rain
Yeah.
tires.
You're talking
There's-
about slicks, yeah.
There's probably some tires out there that are designed for driving in the wet that could outpace it on a track that is constantly raining onto. It would be fun to test. Oh boy, tire rack.
Well, so along with the Vitour
go
P1
to like an LMP race.
I'm not gonna do that right now.
But
they have slicks and they have rain tires.
yeah.
Yes, no,
4A
I
green.
understand. That's slick. Like
Yeah.
the rain tires are still slicks with just grooves cutting to them.
Yes, but no.
The compound is
that's
a
a
little
little
bit
compound.
different.
That
It's
might
a
be a little
softer
over
compound.
our driving for a good comparison, though.
You are unbelievable.
But
So, along with
back to like some
relevant
Tire
tire
comparison.
instead of this BS.
like the Nankang, I know cold
Why do you go to
weather
snow
is
tires?
cold weather with the Nankang
Because they're
is
good
a
in the
bit
wet.
of a thing. Oh yeah, I don't know what you're looking for
I
there.
did buy brand Bridgestone. What? No. Why? It's like auto sending me to winter tires.
Yeah, they're trying to tell you.
Winter's over.
If you have to choose between a winter tire and an RE7
Oh,
RS,
that's
choose
why.
winter tires.
Yeah.
In
I
a
was-
full-on downpour.
I was in the winter category.
That'll do
My
it.
bad. All right. So, an interesting thing that has just come as far as talking about tires. You got the Vitour P1, but have you guys heard of the Potenza race tire?
No.
Yes, but
Tell
I don't
me.
think anybody.
Educate me.
I don't
This-
think I've seen anyone run it, but it
This
hasn't been
is-
out for a little bit.
Yeah, this is Bridgestone's new 200 treadwear tire.
Oh. Beyond the... So it's a 200 treadwear, but it's not the RE71 RS.
Correct.
Oh wait, I
And
saw something about specifically for Lambo.
nor is it.
Yeah, they don't have much sizes, so
Oh, yeah,
that's
they don't.
Is
a
it all-
tire that they made for
Is it all
certain
giant
manufacturers,
sizes?
possibly.
Yeah, it was fairly giant. Now let's go ahead and Toyota GR86.
So that's
I thought
why-
the whole point of this.
Nobody's really tried it because it doesn't come in the wide variety of sizes
Yeah.
needed.
I thought what I had seen on this. I don't know where I saw that, but I thought it was supposed to be more of like an endurance 200 treadwear tire to like
Could be.
battle the Continentals, but it's got very limited sizes and not a lot of information.
Are they fat sizes?
Oh, initially designed for original equipment use on supercars, it has a higher emphasis on durability for endurance-focused competition.
Oh.
Yeah.
So it almost seems like they released it as an endurance tire for 200.
It was probably
treadwear
made
activities,
for
like
a
champ car or whatever. Yeah.
Although I know those guys are still going to use RE71 RSs a lot. Because that tire is durable enough to do an endurance race, but it's done at the end of it.
Right. You get one endurance race out of it
Yeah.
instead of two or
So
three.
you get a really good tire for the whole race.
Sure.
Which sure would be fun to do some wheel to wheel.
Would be.
Oh boy.
We're stuck in autocross land. Our budgets are autocross.
I mean,
Get that BMW going.
I was
Yeah.
gonna say, I think the best introduction to wheel that any of us are gonna have on a road course is definitely going to be like a champ car, champ car, lemons car type situation where we kind of all share one car together.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Endurance racing, I think, is the best way to get a group of friends together and all go racing.
Yeah.
Because you can lower your cost.
Yep.
The cost is still the same overall, but individually you get to pay a little bit less to all go out and
Yep.
have some fun.
The next best thing is if we all get into dirt track.
That's a whole new environment.
It'll make you better, and it's relatively inexpensive.
Relatively.
Relatively.
Depends what you drive. Although I have looked into dirt track stuff, and I don't know why, but it is hard to find like classes and rules and all that stuff for tracks around here. It seems more like if you know
No.
what you're looking for, you can find it, but
You just go directly to the track website and they have rules posted.
sometimes
Always.
it's hard to find stuff, I think.
No.
Like, because there's no...
I can show you after this.
Yeah, I'll show you.
He knows because he's more into it, but I tried finding stuff and I'm like, I don't know, it's not very apparent. It's not like SCCA where it's one governing body making the rules for everybody across the nation. Because
There are still a few tracks hanging out on their own rule set, but overwhelmingly, it is just going to IMCA rules
Everyone.
for most tracks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which I can't find much on websites when I would look for certain, like trying to see, all right, what are the classes that they would be running and what the rules are. It's
Yeah,
a little bit more difficult to find out.
if a specific track is running like IMCA modifieds or IMCA hobby stocks or something like that, if you can't find the rule set directly on their website, you just default to.
You just assume it's going to be this
if
national.
it's listed as an IMCA class, you just default to the IMCA rules. Yeah.
Yeah, I always thought it'd be fun to just do the 4-banger classes, because that might be your cheapest way into dirt track, is
Unfortunately,
little things like that.
there's still a few tracks out there that are just running like a local 4-cylinder rule set where they have a more restricted rule set, but a lot of them have gone to like a what do they call them? Like bombers or it's like a super unlimited rule set for the Hornets is the biggest.
Because I know you've talked about the Darlington cars, and they are fairly modified 4-cylinders they can run. And
as far as I'm aware, Darlington, Dubuque, Makokata, places like that are running like the Hornets rule set, and it's like almost completely unlimited. The last time that I checked into the rules, it may be different now, but the last time that I checked into the rule set for 4-cylinders,
turbos are allowed.
no,
It's not unlimited.
It has to be naturally aspirated, and it has to be like factory suspension pickup points, and it has to be a factory appearing suspension.
So
that's the end of the rules.
Yeah.
It has to have a cage.
Safety equipment.
Does it have
safety
to be a
equipment.
factory
engine.
It's pretty loose.
Yeah.
Like you can't put a Honda into a Cavalier.
Put a Honda into a
you
Honda.
can't put a Honda into a Chevy or things like that. But like if you have an, let's say you have a Neon, and it came with a 2-liter, but you put a 2.4 out of an Avenger in there, it's probably gonna be okay. Because like there's no limitations.
Like take a Del Sol and K-swap it.
Maybe.
It's a Honda into a Honda.
Yeah, it's
so
a Honda into a Honda.
You'd have to look into their rules, but yeah, because that's more of an open rule set. You can kind of do whatever,
they're very open
versus the
in
traditional
the way of engines work.
The traditional is very closed off.
Regardless of if you have to keep the factory engine block or not, beyond that, the rules are very open. Like headwork is allowable, cams, strokers, big bores, anything like that. To my understanding, there's no restrictions on that kind of stuff. To say that there's not 300 horsepower 4-cylinders out there running around naturally aspirated is completely, to my understanding, within the rule set.
So it could get very expensive, depending on your location and classing that you want to run in.
Perfect example.
If you want to be competitive.
I was down at the Dirt Nationals in Bristol when they had Dirt on Bristol in 2021. It was either 21 or 22 that we were down there.
Yeah.
End of straightaway speeds, the 4-cylinders were going faster than the hobby stocks. So they're making incredible horsepower. Because they clearly do not have the handling capabilities going through the corners.
Yeah.
But they're making incredible horsepower. And that was like a nationally accepted rule set for the engines.
That sounds like it'd be fun.
Yeah, it was freaking wild is what it was.
Because I think, I've only seen
ill-handling cars that go really, really fast on the straightaways. It was pretty wild.
Yeah, because
a lot of upside-down cars, I can tell you that.
I think most local tracks probably run the more traditional. You're not really allowed to do anything but safety equipment, and
that's really the way that it started.
The cheapest way into dirt racing.
It's not anymore. It's simply not. It's not the cheapest way.
Not anymore.
Because I raced that Porsche 944,
Right.
87 944, when I was in high school, so that's been 15 years ago, basically now. And at that time, I was doing what I could to be within the rules. I fudged a little bit, like everybody did.
You gotta
And-
find the gray.
Yeah. And I was, like, straight line speed, I was just barely there in a Porsche 944 against Dodge Neons.
But at the
So
same
let's
time,
be honest. So let's be honest.
Those 944s weren't really monstrous engines either.
No,
But the balance
no.
of the car is great.
I mean, like, if you compare factory horsepower and torque, it was, like, very similar in horsepower, but a significant amount more torque
yeah.
than a Neon or Cavalier
Right,
at the
because
time.
you just had more liters.
Yeah. So it, in a straight line, at least in like factory rated horsepower torque, 0 to 60 times and stuff like that, that car should have been way faster than any Neon or
Even
Cavalier.
from a weight standpoint?
Yes. Everything was completely gutted. So everything that ever made a 944 heavy, which would be all the luxury things like power seats. Yeah.
I bet a lot of it could come down to weight, just because the 944 is also a transaxle, which is what makes it a very balanced car.
Correct.
So you have a lot of extra weight versus a front-wheel drive car making similar power. That is
The only
very
extra,
lightweight
the only
transmission.
extra weight is the torque tube. That's it.
Well,
Otherwise, it's all the same stuff.
a transaxle
Just
is,
happens to be in the back instead of in the front.
well, a transaxle I think is going to weigh more than a small
Yeah.
front-wheel drive transmission
Why?
too.
Why?
Because you have less.
It's just the way they're designed.
It's 5 gears in the differential.
But we haven't compared size obviously to know, but I think a transaxle typically ends up weighing more than, you've seen front wheel drive transmissions, they're tiny.
I have. I've also seen a 944 transaxle on the ground, and I think it's smaller.
Is it?
Yes, because it's linear instead of put into a box where it has to transmit everything down and sideways.
But it's also more efficient.
What? A transaxle or like a front-wheel
front-wheel
drive
drive.
transmission?
Yeah.
That's the
Which
biggest
is
advantage
also
of a
still a
front-wheel drive.
transaxle. Yeah, because I guess it doesn't have to turn it 90 degrees.
Yeah.
But it is.
So back to the grip racing, which we're much better
Yeah.
at knowing about.
No one gives a shit.
I
about
mean,
dirt racing.
you guys might be,
Yeah.
but
I've always thought dirt
Well,
racing would be
actually,
fun if I
I think this
had.
would
dirt racing is
At this time, I think it'd be.
We're just too far invested into grip racing.
I think
yeah.
this
You
time.
guys just need to go watch more dirt racing.
No
It
one
is so
cares.
freaking
No
good.
one cares.
No, a lot of people cares. A
No.
lot of people cares.
Somebody
And
gave me a
that's-
seat.
It's plenty
That is
entertaining
what-
to watch.
That
but-
is what is making NASCAR have a resurgence. Is because there are so many dirt track racers who have gone into NASCAR. Their
Oh, yeah.
followers are following
I
them.
think that's kind of how it's
Actually,
always
I think it's because
gone.
they had Kimi Räikkönen drive the road course once. And that's what.
Yeah, he did it once and he didn't do it well.
Did you hear how he talked about it though?
Yeah, it's bumper cars.
Yeah.
Oh, no,
That's
what he-
basically what he said.
Oh, the other thing I heard him say is he's like it felt like it was like old style F1 racing
Yeah, bumper cars.
where you're actually like passing people. And
yeah,
stuff. He's
you
like,
have to try
not-
actually hard.
Right. That's
It's not. Well, turns out my team had 35% more budget than the guy behind me, but 50% more less budget than the guy in front of me.
Right.
It
Which
wasn't
is less of an
completely
issue
and
with
entirely
budget.
based on money. It meant that the cars were very similar, and you actually had to drive the car.
yeah. You don't turn the Singapore race on at 6 a.m. because your daughter woke you up early to find that Max Verstappen is 23 seconds ahead.
Yeah.
I guess it wasn't Singapore that it was.
I think
It wasn't Singapore that
I think
Singapore he
another,
Whatever.
lost.
another
Yeah.
big
You don't
difference.
turn on the race and see it's 23 seconds ahead and go, well, guess there's no point in watching this.
I don't remember the exact stats, but there was a little study done about what the gap between leader and next place was across a whole myriad of different racing organizations. And obviously, like you just said, F1 was just a massive gap
Yeah.
between first and second place.
Yeah, I may have gotten the race wrong, but there were literally 23 second, 21 second gap.
But
Huge gap.
I think there's still an explanation with it because a lot of other racing is like NASCAR is a super spec racing where 0.002 of an inch you can put a sticker on wrong and get your car disqualified more or less.
Right.
Versus
when you put your wrap on, if it doesn't follow the body line right, you can get disqualified.
NASCAR is the only type of race where wrecking your car might make it more aerodynamic to the point where it's an advantage.
That has happened.
I know.
It hasn't happened in the last 2 seasons because they have the composite body now.
Right. So it doesn't.
But when they still had steel bodies, there was a specific race where Kyle Larson got hit in the right rear, and the way it kinked to the body on the very right rear, right by the bumper,
did it just give him
poked
more
in. It poked in at the wheel well and was out at the bumper. So when you're going around the corner, that little flick out at the rear end would theoretically give you an aerodynamic advantage because it helps keep the back end of the car down the corner. It was completely incidental in a wreck where he got hit, and there were yes, he did. He actually did win. Happened to be at a track that he's just naturally good at anyways, but there was, like, after the race all completed and everything, like the little highlights reels that they play and stuff like that, there were multiple drivers who seen it on track and said to their spotter, "Oh, how convenient that he got that dent right there."
Sometimes it's just luck of the draw.
Even the drivers know what the aero advantages are.
Yeah.
Right.
To say that those drivers are just dumb guys out there just driving cars.
Turn left! I mean, turn left!
Completely invalid.
Right.
Those guys are super intelligent. They know what's going on. They're physically fit. It's a real thing to be a driver. You don't... No. I have my opinions on that guy, but no. You're wrong. Like, literally everybody. Even the lowest tier teams that are out there. Those drivers are very intelligent. They're in shape. It's a real deal to get into a NASCAR Cup car. Even an Xfinity or a truck. Any of those.
Right. No,
it's a real deal.
No one here is saying, like, it's not.
But comparatively to, like, F1, a lot of F1 speed isn't necessarily out on a track, but it's back in the garages.
Yeah.
You know, NASCAR is very spec, very meticulous. F1 has all the same meticulousity, but you have a wider box to play in. You know, NASCAR has this much box, and F1 has... Here's your box. What would you like to do in this very large box?
You can look at the underside of a car.
You know, they're all completely different. And they have to be different. If you are suspected of copying another team that was successful, good chance they're really going to be digging into you. You know, if you have a car that resembles...
I didn't know that it was like you can't...
If your car resembles another car, they're going to think... Maybe you have been just copying their car. You're not allowed to do that. Designs have to be your own designs. It can look similar, but if it looks too similar, you might run into trouble.
I didn't know that.
But the box of rules...
I don't know that much about Formula 1.
It's a very engineering-based sport where the team with the best engineers, it's likely they're going to be the best team because... So much
I've
of
heard
it is
that before. Like, there's a couple engineers you can follow around from jumping from team to team.
Yeah,
Adrian Newey
the team all of a sudden becomes.
And that's a little bit of a caveat because NASCAR is different in that it's so much more spec, but also
teams will try and be sneaky as possible.
They also have to have extremely good engineers because you have such a more narrow, defined box that you have to work in.
To find that edges.
How can you find those edges in a much more defined box?
How can you get away with things without getting caught?
There's a reason that almost every single week, there's a NASCAR team that gets fined or disqualified or
like the webbing on the gloves.
Yeah,
correct.
because
What the
there
hell
could
was
be
that
an
all about?
aerodynamic
What was that all about?
advantage.
I heard something about him like
Because it's completely legal for you to put your hand out the window to create an aero advantage. They absolutely 100% do that. But if you have reverse stitch gloves and your webbing is on the outside instead of the inside, or it's extra big, and you can create a little bit more of an aero advantage by sticking
that
your
was the
hand
whole
out.
reason.
Yes.
Yeah,
So you can stick. I've never
Yeah.
seen
Yes,
people sticking
because-
their hand out the window.
So NASCARs are completely sealed off. They have a windshield. They have
Yep,
right
yep,
side
yep.
windows, rear window. They
Ex-
do not have a left window. They have a
Right.
net.
Yes.
But if you can stick your hand out the window and deflect the air to go around the net instead of through it into the car, it creates an aero advantage.
Gotcha. So
And-
it's more
so
of
if
just like
you have tiny hands and tight gloves, you can only create.
who is the driver that?
Joey Logano is the guy
So
that got.
Are you saying Joey Logano has tiny hands?
He might. I don't know. I didn't say he had tiny hands. So he might. That completely aside, like your hand has a certain amount of surface area. If you have tight gloves
Right.
that are just tight to your fingers, you can only create
So
a certain
much,
amount
yeah.
of surface area.
Yep.
But if your gloves are reverse stitched, that's one thing which is allowable to my understanding because it's just more comfortable because the stitching is
Well,
on the outside, it's not on the
From
inside. It doesn't
what I
bulk up
understand,
your
his
hands.
gloves were not banned because of the webbing. They were banned because they were not SFI certified. So essentially, the webbing was added in
which
without them being
nullifies the
certified.
certification.
Yes.
It could be that.
And
It
that's a
wasn't that
possibility.
they actually had the webbing. It was because they were no longer certified as an SFI part because they added in that material.
Sure.
But you can guarantee there's going to be rules written and added, possibly just for
Or either
webbing
be
after
rules
that.
added in
Yeah.
saying you can't do that, or they'll become SFI certified gloves very
Right.
shortly.
Yeah. But I mean, that's a legit thing. Like the more surface area that you can have to be able to put out the window, to be able to deflect air, to not come in the car, to go around the car instead.
Right.
The more surface area you have, the more advantageous it would be.
Interesting.
Yeah.
A
All
lot
right.
of questions.
Now I want to take this time before we get too far because this might take a little bit. We're going to do our Q&A session. Put out there, we wanted to hear some questions from you guys. Most of the stuff came from the local club, obviously, but we'll do our best to answer these questions. So we're going to dive into our Q&A. And the first question is, can you flip an RE71 RS? Tyler.
To my understanding, an RE71 RS is an inside-outside tire.
Yes.
Yeah. So, can you flip it? Sure. Absolutely. You can flip it. Is it going to work as well? Probably not. Because regardless of, well, it's two things. One, the belting may be woven in a particular fashion so that it works best when it is in the appropriate orientation. The other thing is they are not a symmetrical tread pattern. So they have a wider shoulder on the outside, less on the inside. So, for two reasons, you should not flip your RE71 RS, but you can.
Kyle.
Well, I know, flipping inside outside. Can you do it? Sure. Should you do it? No. But if you want to rotate tires around the car, they're non-directional, so you can, if you want to rotate this side, left side to right side, that's totally fine just because they're non-directional. So you can rotate them, but you shouldn't pull them off the wheel and flip them to the other side unless your budget is that tight and you absolutely need to keep running your season. Then,
Sure.
whatever it takes to get on track. Sometimes you just
Yeah.
do what you got to do, but
If you're running like an extreme amount of camber and you burn off the insides and you gotta flip them to get a few more events, sure.
it's unlikely you'd find any speed, or at least be the same speed that you were
Yep.
flipped. I don't know if anyone's ever tested it with new tires, but that could be fun to see what the difference is.
Yeah.
But I'm
See if they're
sure
any faster or slower.
I'm sure it was designed the way it's designed for a reason.
Yep.
Yes, you can. It's not communist China. You can do whatever the hell you want. I don't know.
Welcome to America.
Yeah, you can flip
You can
them.
do whatever you want.
It can be totally shit. I don't know.
Will
Yeah.
it make you faster?
All right.
Probably not.
Next question. Is Miata always the answer? Why or why not?
No.
And I'm
because-
hold on. I'm going to preface this with none of us have ever owned a Miata.
Correct. So me first?
Go ahead.
No, because horsepower.
Fair enough.
I want to be able to put my foot down and be like, is it working? I just want to feel it.
Right.
Outside of that, probably. But that's my answer. No, because horsepower.
I think it really just depends what you're using it for. Like, it can't be the answer to everything, obviously, but there's going to be cases where it's the answer. You know, do you want a fun car that you can get into, beat the crap out of, and just keep driving it, no problem? It's going to be a great answer. You know, if you just want something fun to drive, sure. Now, if you want to be super competitive and win things, there might be things it's good for, but, you know, we have club members that have had modified Miatas that make good power, they're set up well, but there's always something that they can't seem to do, which is like really get to the top. They can be great cars, but I don't think it's always the car that you're looking for.
No.
Because horsepower.
No, there's actually a couple other things. Like, I mean, maybe the newest ones where they have kind of the hardtop version.
Yeah.
But you have to buy more safety equipment with convertible if you want to do HPD
Sure.
and stuff like that. So there's that side of it where I'd say no. But yeah, then the other side of it is kind of the horsepower side of it. Eventually, you're going to want more power. Where I'd say maybe if you're okay with it, just always having that and just taking it to the extreme, knowing you're, going to 9,000 RPMs in fourth gear, doing 60 miles an hour.
60 and fourth at 9,000 RPM.
Maybe if you're okay with that, then yes, because the operating cost is supposed to, it's going to be,
extremely
it's going to be really low,
Yeah.
and it's a very reliable platform. Probably the other reason I'd say no more so now than ever is they're not exactly cheap. They used to be really, really cheap, which is why it was always kind of the answer. It was the cheap way to get into motorsports.
And
you
they're
could probably
competitive
pick
in their
up
class.
Right. You could get a C4 now.
For about the same price as Miata.
It's a
Yeah,
good
and
Miata.
you're gonna have
When you could pick up a Miata for $2,000,
Yeah,
Right.
That's the
Fine.
answer. Yeah,
Yeah.
because it
or
is fun and
even
cheap.
even
four.
less.
Yeah.
Wasn't
Well,
say,
yeah.
but even at $4,000, I mean,
Yeah, if it was like nice low miles.
but you can't find a Miata at $4,000 unless it's ratty.
Yep.
Or it's gonna have its issues. So they've really climbed up in price. Partially that is because of the
Miata
notoriety.
is the answer.
Yeah, they had, because Miata has been the answer. Well, as soon as it became too expensive, it kind of is no longer the answer. It starts to creep up into the territory of just having not enough power for long-term use, despite having paid quite a bit for it. To be honest, what I'd say is probably kind of replacing it is the FRS and BRZs.
Yeah.
They're
for
starting
sure.
to climb down in price, and there's quite a few of them.
And they've gotten better over time.
Right, and you could maybe I guess bridge that gap with like an NC Miata,
Yeah.
where it's got a little bit more power, but
I mean,
no, not really.
if
Like
fun-
you get the nice thing about an FRS or a BRZ is you don't need extra equipment for an HPDE day.
Yeah.
Right.
You can just show up in jeans and a long sleeve and race it as long as you have the proper helmet. So, no.
Although
That is why it's not, why it is maybe yes.
if fun is what you're looking for, then yes. Because I've driven some
Or-
Miatas and I have always had fun in a Miata. If fun is the goal, then yes, get a Miata. Because I have never had a bad time driving a Miata.
Or if
Unless
you're a
your fun is
hairdresser.
based in.
Then you can keep up the
Even
stereotype.
Unless your
No.
fun is based in horsepower.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, if you want to do rolling burnouts,
Yeah.
Miata's not your guy.
No, I've driven a Miata that has got studded tires on the ice, And I gotta say, that might be the most fun I've had on the ice, other than riding in my buddy Tony's old Cadillac, which is just a big tanker boat. But, stud Miata on the ice might be some of the most fun you ever have.
Yeah.
If fun is your goal, then Miata's the answer. But if, climbing up to the top of the raw chart is your goal, then not so much of the answer. It's going to be more difficult, possible, but much more difficult than, say, for the same price point, like your Corvette.
Yep.
The next question, Keeney, I apologize. I'm not quite sure what you're asking here.
That was for...
Is that a reply for something?
That, I think, was in reference to the meme itself with the cone. With
You at least have to appear to attempt the course.
Yes.
So, is it faster to hit the middle cone of the slalom?
Maybe.
Pretty much never.
It depends on the
It really
course.
depends on how far the cones are separated. If the cones are really close,
Maybe.
you might be better off just hitting that second slalom cone if it's a 3-cone slalom.
I think we had an event.
We did have an event that was real
It was
close.
one.
It was at Madison.
Did not somebody try it? And then immediately after there was an announcement that said, we're not doing that.
Oh, no. I don't remember any event where there was an announcement.
I mean, I don't know if you can do that in the middle of the day. If the course is the course, you can't.
I would
really
fight that pretty hard.
Yeah.
Like, I might get it's like, yep, they're gonna run a lot, but that's the way we designed the course.
Yeah.
Then send some other
Well,
workers
yeah,
over there.
I definitely know that we've had
There's been one or two courses where
it's
that
like,
2-second
maybe.
loss was worth taking because.
Yeah.
But I think there's been like one, and it's usually at MIS.
Yep. Because you're already carrying
so
a
much
huge
speed.
amount of speed coming into there, where if you can just miss the first one and the last one and blast the middle one.
Right. Like, all you have to do is go down for the first one, and then you just go up a little bit to knock that second one to get the cone hit instead of a DNF, and then keep going.
Yeah, because if you
But then you're also
avoid it, you're
also
for what it's worth, in those situations, you're risking the viability of your car because you're probably doing 80 miles an hour.
Right, as I say, you're hauling at that point. And then you're going into a bank turn.
So
going,
how much do you
"This is
like
gonna
your front?
hold."
How much do you like your front bumper, or your splitter?
Right.
$50 piece of plywood, cones bounce right off of it.
So, is it worth hitting the middle cone? Depends.
Probably not.
Typically not.
Probably not.
Typically not. Typically, most people are pretty aware of how they set up the slalom, and it's meant to slow you down and not be an easy way to just hit the cone. Who does the troll patrol really troll?
Ourselves. Primarily ourselves.
Yeah, this is more for you two guys. I'm guessing you guys all came up with it.
Primarily ourselves.
It was like the group of us.
Yeah, this is before me, so I was just invited in.
So we troll ourselves and Tim.
Let's say ourselves and anyone else who gets in the way.
Right. Yeah, there you go. There you go.
My thought was
How's that
everybody-
answer, old man? All right.
My thought with it was everybody's always driving weird cars, and for some reason we have made these weird cars kind of fast. So it's almost like our cars are a troll in their own.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Because you have an S10,
Sonoma,
the Z's
That hasn't
or
run.
Z's,
yeah,
the SRT4.
it's unconventional cars that for some reason have gotten way quicker than you expect them to be. It's
Another reason.
kind of a troll in its own.
Yeah.
Another way of, I guess, expressing how we troll ourselves. When the brake caliper was coming off my Corvette, I didn't immediately go, "I'm done for the day." I went, "Whose car can I steal from one run?" And I immediately ran to Kyle's, couldn't find the keys, and then I immediately ran to Ryan's and found the keys for the SRT4. Unloaded it after he'd already packed it up, and took it for a run.
Troll all the things.
Yes. So, ourselves, each
Primarily
other.
ourselves.
Yeah.
Anyone who gets in the way.
But yeah. And the last question, which I'm quite looking forward to, comes from Anton. Definitely, I guess I'd say almost a winner of questions for the for this episode.
It made us do a little bit more research.
Yes. If you received a monkey's paw wish, which would grant you any autocross car for free, with the catch that it would forever be your only autocross car, and that it must forever run a set of Godspeed Project is the full company name, coilovers, which car would you choose and why? Car must have a set of coilovers available for sale on Godspeed's website. Hold on, because there were some questions on this, and I just want to clarify. So one of the questions asked from another member was, are maintenance items and parts included in this? Assuming not, I'll pick this car.
I think more or less.
So the way he explained this is, yep, you can upgrade anything else on the car. You're just stuck with these coilovers. Infinite free spares and extras.
When I saw this post and I saw that comment, I thought about it. I meant to ask a question.
What's
it did not. Can I modify the coilovers? Can I valve them myself?
I'm gonna go ahead and say it has to be what comes out of the box, because that's more in the fun of the question. Because if you can modify them, then that ruins the fun of it.
I don't know, but I think the premise still... No, you can't.
Yeah, his meaning is you're running these...
The car must have...
Because I guess if
it must forever run on a set of Godspeed coilovers. So unless you can get Godspeed to do something.
All right. Okay. So I guess I'm first?
Yep.
Sure. All right. I'm going to go with the C7 Corvette. They are listed on their website as available.
In what coilover, might I ask? You don't know which?
I didn't look that hard.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. The max coilovers is a C7.
Yeah.
Okay. So you do a C7 Corvette.
Because if it's... One of two things is going to happen. It's either going to be tolerable, which means it can't be too much worse than the factory suspension. So I can...
The C7's engineered pretty well, so it probably is worse than the factory suspension.
I almost guarantee.
I said too much worse, which means I can still tolerate the drive. It can't be worse than my C4. It can't be worse than my C4.
That's be tolerable, whether or not it's
so faster. It's going to be tolerable.
Okay, that's fair enough.
Which means
you do a C7.
Which means I can ball around in a C7.
Yep.
I can ball around in a C7.
It makes perfect sense.
And at the very least,
you get all gray. So
if it is completely intolerable, I can park a C7 in my garage and just show people, like, yeah, I got a C7.
You can still drive it around, take it to events, and
I can have what is considered...
have I ever heard anything more Corvette than that. I can just leave it in my garage and show people.
Yeah, and that's exactly what it's for.
You disgust me.
I can at least say that I have what is arguably a supercar. It's an American supercar. I have one. So I'm going to go with the C7 Corvette.
I want to hear your answer, because I feel like mine might be more interesting.
Well, that's not the way this works.
You're
sure?
up.
Yep.
All right. My choice, I wanted something...
Gay.
No. But I was like, I am looking for something specific. A car that I would love to have regardless, because it's going to be completely different than anything that I've ever owned. And something I want to own that it's pretty much unobtainium to me. You could theoretically get a C7 just on your own.
Yeah.
But the likelihood of me affording a 94 Porsche 911 Turbo is very slim to none.
Fair.
So I'm like, these coilovers might be terrible, but a 1994 Porsche 911 Turbo... How good was the suspension compared to even a shitty coilover system? I'm not sure. But...
Oh, damn, dude. They even got 89 and 90s.
Oh, yeah. I was like, we're going to look into Porsche, and we're going to see what I can get. Because that era of Porsche is the better era that's not so much trying to kill you, for the turbo Porsche era. So you could, have some fun autocrossing. It is not as likely to try and kill you as the older 911s, where they had that figured out at this generation, where it's not as dangerous of a car anymore.
Sure.
So I'm like, this is for my amount of money, unobtainium type of car, that it's like, I can't get this, but if I could just be handed one, I'm taking it, even on these coilovers.
Solid. Yeah.
So I'm a little split.
Oh, you had to pick one.
I
No
know,
splitting the
I know,
hair.
I'm a little split.
Turns out you can't split this. You
But
gotta pick one.
But they are identical.
No.
Yes, they are.
Is it on the website?
It is on the website.
Pick
And it's
one.
more because I've had to think about which one do I think has aged better in the way it looks. And some reviews that I've seen on it, and I think I'd go with this one, even though the other one I think would be more attractive to most people. The car I would
You're picking one for you, not for the people.
I know. But I would also really like it because you're talking about free everything for it. Free extras. So any engine maintenance, all that, and you can do anything extra you want to it. And so I think what I would go with is or is this a mistake?
Sounds like a mistake.
No,
Say it
I know I didn't
Send
mistake
it.
mine.
I don't quite like
Stop thinking about it too much.
I don't quite like the drivetrain setup of it, but
I feel like you're trying to pick something you could still FTD in.
Yeah. I would go with an Audi R8.
Oh. Okay.
The other option was a Lamborghini Gallardo.
No.
I mean,
it's the same thing.
Is it an R8 just a Lamborghini Gallardo?
That's
The
kind of
R8,
like
I think, is
suggestion.
the
I would
more
assume the
desirable.
suspension is close enough
Sure.
that they basically have coilover kits for both.
Yeah.
But from what I understand, at least from the reviews I've seen, is there's a little bit more legroom in the R8 where you could actually use the manual transmission.
Alright, he did research for this.
Actually,
I
it's
just wanted
remem-
something
it's-
fun and unobtainium.
It's not really research, it's just remembering the Top Gear episode. What was talked about between the two cars.
His research was sitting
But
down
no,
with a drink and watching Top Gear.
It's like you've seen twin turbo R8s and stuff like that, but it also just, I think it's a car that's always going to look really good,
Sure.
perform really well.
Not as
And
good as the Porsche.
The coilovers that are for that car are $1,800. They're not cheap coilovers. Like they're not. I wouldn't call them expensive coilovers.
I wouldn't call them high end at all.
They're
for-
definitely cheaper
for an
than the
R8.
They're
factory.
still on the very low end.
Oh yeah, yeah. But they might be a little bit better. But kind of like you said,
They
then you
might
have-
they might be a little bit better than just putting straight solid rods in there.
Yeah.
right. And so
It's definitely a downgrade from the factory
Well,
suspension.
I'm not gonna hit on them too hard because who knows? Maybe they are great coilovers. They might not be. But what would I do with this thing? With it being free? I'm gonna set it at Blackhawk Farms
Yeah.
full tilt.
Yeah.
And if I put it in the tire wall, well, I guess I
Whatever.
new
Bummer.
R8. Yeah. So if you're gonna, plus I don't know, it just looks good and.
Quite the different schools of thought on this one.
Yep.
TJ always
Plus, it's
trying
got
to
a
win.
V10.
For what it's worth.
Sound will be
If it,
great.
I
For
would
what
say,
it's worth.
if it can't be the V10, then I would pick the Gallardo.
For what it's worth.
Okay, what?
Gallardo?
Yeah.
Yeah. For what it's worth. If we took all three of those cars on those coilovers to probably any track, they'd be pretty matched.
No.
I don't know. There's still so many differences between all of them.
Yeah.
They would all be very fun.
The R8 makes the most power.
If it's a V10.
It doesn't say excludes V10, so
Nah.
it's gonna be a V10.
Okay?
Although we can do anything we want to it.
But it makes it. I didn't specify on which C7 I was going to have.
Well, actually,
it's probably a
specifies
C7
for you.
ZR1.
It specifies for you. It can't have any electronic suspension.
Yep.
Compatible with Chevy Corvette 2014 and 2019 excludes electronic suspensions. So guess what?
It doesn't exclude.
Z01s and Z06s are out.
It doesn't exclude electronic suspension.
It does.
It just means that you have to delete it.
Excludes electronic suspension.
Nah, bolt
that
in.
means it's not usable. You have to go by what the website says. That was the question.
Bolt in.
You messed up.
Ah, frick me.
You suck. You'd have been better off going with the C6 and getting the ZR1 probably. That's actually probably not true because I bet it has the same exclusion.
Yeah,
I
probably.
just want a car that I would never afford and would be a lot of fun.
You are gonna hate those. They're only $1,100.
Ooh.
Those are gonna be worse than what we wanted, I think. You wanted, what was yours? The 911?
94.
94?
It's a range of
88 to 05?
no.
Oh, that's 98.
I don't know
There's
how
90
you have it.
95? I just searched 911. Let me do
I just
Porsche.
searched in Porsche and found it. You might have to do the full search because this is probably just a condensed list.
Porsche.
You need 8 at the end.
Jesus.
It was toward the bottom of their coilovers. Oh, wait. No, that was 96. Yeah, that was
It's a
96. We're going too quick.
Well, these are Caymans and stuff like that. I actually wouldn't mind a Cayman. I might pick the Cayman more than... This is the thing about them. Let me do...
Their website is very...
Yeah, their website's not intuitive. Let me search 911. Maybe that'll be faster. 88 to 05. 98, or not 88. 98 to 05.
Why is this much more hard to find suddenly? There's 89 to 90.
2005, 2015, 2016.
There we go, 91 to 94. So
$1,100.
can confirm they are on here.
And also high garbage.
Yep.
It's like I've never driven a stock one, so I don't know how good the factory suspension is. Because it's like it
The question did
may
not,
or may not be at least on par with that suspension from
the question did
1994.
not, the question did not denote whether or not you get a before and after drive.
Man, you'd never know.
You might not know, or you might know, if you drove before.
Only 3 left in stock.
Better hurry up, Kyle.
Yep.
Might be the last 3.
Surprised they make coilovers for our vehicles that we have chosen for this, though.
Correct.
Because I didn't go, I kind of think this vehicle and then looked for the vehicle. I just went, Porsche, we'll just see.
Well, there's some people talking about doing Subarus on the gravel coilovers because they thought the gravel
Might be.
coilovers would be...
Which basically might mean that their high lift coilovers are acceptable for street use.
Well, so they
might
have,
be...
they have max...
The damping might be soft.
tolerable.
So they have their 3-way coilovers, but they are limited to basically Hondas, Subarus, and the Evo 10.
Sure.
And I'd rather drive an Audi R8 with shit coilovers than any of those.
Yeah.
I like
Because
Subarus,
Audi
so
R8.
that
Yeah,
goes.
it's Audi R8, yeah, because you can still sit there and rev that V10 and you're like, yeah.
Which is why I chose a C7, because it's a C7.
What did Jeremy Clarkson say about the boxer engine arriving? The sound of a boxer engine
Oh.
is the sound
of a moron.
Well, call me a moron because I love Subaru. That WRX has been the best thing I've
The
ever
herald
owned
of
in
a
winter.
moron. But yep, I think that's it for our Q&A. I didn't see anything on any of the other pages. unfortunately.
No,
Bunch
not that
of
I saw
nerds.
either.
What?
Bunch of nerds.
Bunch of nerds.
Think they know everything. Don't have to ask us anything.
We didn't really have it posted to
Little-
too many other places, I don't think, either. So
No.
we kind of kept it small for the first time just to see what we might be able to get, just testing it out. We'll
And
probably have it in more places in the future.
Yep.
Or,
Yep.
hope to hear more from you. That Godspeed one was a pretty kind of fun one to do.
Oh, sure.
There was a lot of cars I looked at. Like, I've always wanted an S13, but
Yeah,
S13 R8.
yeah. R8 is a little bit harder to
sorry.
Although finding a rust-free S13, that might be just as
That,
hard to get now.
Well, and it's like free parts and availability.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
Theoretically, you can
like,
like just about
alright.
anything with it. It just has to have those coilovers.
let's be completely honest.
If you're right, if you could modify the coilovers,
yes,
my answer
huge factor.
might change.
Yes, because then literally anything.
Yeah. But that's what the question is. What are you getting out of
Yeah.
the box?
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah.
For what it's worth, if we're talking about ultimate value of vehicle based on this question, picking something like an R8, you're probably still ahead in the game.
Well, that's why I say the Lamborghini
Uh,
would be better. You'd probably get more money out of the Lamborghini
No.
than anything else.
I think the R8 is.
No,
People
but hold on.
hold that a little
You
better.
still might be ahead in the game. Maybe. Because think about the extreme caveats. Think about how much money, like 10 out of 10, Integra Type Rs have sold
Same with
in recent history.
the Porsche 911 turbos. Those older ones are. People want those cars now.
Yeah, but do they want them more than an Integra Type R selling for like 90 grand?
I don't get. I'm
It all
really
depends on the
confused that.
markets, I think.
Like, that's just the thing to think about. Like, you don't think...
So the only thing I'd say about that is you have Godspeed Project coilovers on it, and that's going to drop the value to nothing.
No,
Just,
I,
like,
I don't think it will.
Well,
I don't think it will.
I mean, market value doesn't really matter because we're
No,
not selling
because
these
it's
cars.
not. It doesn't. Yeah, it's not something you can sell. It's something you have to use for autocross
No, I
and
know.
all that stuff.
I know.
Like that.
So that's like a personal enjoyment thing.
Is
Yeah,
how
it
much
has to
money
be-
can I squeeze out of
Now-
that question?
Now, if you happen to be a Honda guy, and you can select an Integra Type R, and it happens to be a 10 out of 10 car,
with these
Well,
coilovers.
when
you
those-
might find more value in that
When
than
your
an
cheap-ass
Audi R8.
coilovers snap off and you die. Well, then
You know,
There is that.
that's the fun of the question.
the Audi will at least.
But
keep
there
you
are
safe.
things to think about.
We get to see. We get to
Got a
see
better
what.
safety crash test
System,
rating.
I think questions like those just get to reveal what you really are looking for. You know, you're the old
Yeah,
man with
no,
the Corvette.
I don't really
Well,
care.
see,
I don't really care
What's funny
what.
is you talked about the 911 as about being as something I could never. It's too far out of
It
my
is,
grip.
yeah.
I've looked at used Audi R8s, V8s and V10s, and I went,
Under 100,000.
I might be able to one day.
Yeah, and I've looked at C7s.
It's
You're-
funny in that
you're
sense.
with-
I've looked
yeah.
at it more of like what could I get? That's
And you were also going, what would be possibly a winning possibility?
well, like it's just one of those- like
Yeah.
I've looked at Audi R8s because
For
I
like-
could see like spending my own money on an Audi R8. Well, that's because then I obviously want an Audi R8 to some
Yeah.
capacity.
for what it's worth.
I would rather have an Audi R8 than I would a C7 Corvette if something was to be given to me.
Sure, for what it's worth. On your point, I do not in any way, shape, or form think that an Audi R8, no matter what trim level it is,
Will be ever as
Would
desirable
be-
as like a 94.
no,
Oh.
would be faster. To your point, would be faster around an autocross or even a road course compared to the 911 or the C7.
Okay, again,
I'm just
it's-
looking for fun.
it's free
and
unlimited.
a cool car.
Yeah, that's like
I
a
think-
happy balance.
I'm like, I
it's-
want something
You're
fun
not understanding
that
the question.
can be
The question
performing.
is, it has to have Godspeed coilovers. Everything else, anything you want to do to it, is free. So gears, anything like that, you could change up.
Okay.
You could make it compatible for autocross. Is my point.
You can, but
It's all free. That was the whole point of it. If you had a monkey paws wish, you could do
How would you
anything
set
and
up
have
this
everything.
car?
but
you
if
want.
that is your concern, is being fast at autocross, I don't think there's anything that you can do to that car to make it faster on autocross.
I'm sure you could find a way.
You could change gearing or something like that if that wasn't
There's
suitable
means
for
to
it.
Yeah, but I still think at
The
our-
whole point is that the monkey paw lets you do anything and everything you want to the car. It just has to have the Godspeed
Sure.
Project coilovers.
Sure.
So
And I
think of
still-
it as like
I still
think
think-
of it as like building a car in Forza.
I
don't like this engine. I'm gonna do this engine.
We're going
still
way too
think-
much into this question.
I know, but
Good thing that's empty.
oh god.
So that might be our cue.
I still think it would be less fast than Karen's S2000.
Well, I just think you're stupid.
Good thing we're allowed to opinions.
Maybe not you after this episode. No. And until next time,
Keep the shiny side up.
thanks for watching. I wasn't gonna go quite to that yet, but thanks for watching. This has been Hammered with Cars, Patrol Racing. I'm TJ.
I'm Kyle.
Now keep the shiny side up. And I'm
That's
Tyler.
Tyler. You suck!